is cultivated with discipline and perseverance, it can still be profitless and void of God's blessings. Today I want to talk to you about the hard side of the prayer. How many times did you talk to God about your prayers that have not been heard? Your prayers to which God was quiet or silenced to. Today I'm going to talk about a different side to prayer. That is one side, and the other side is when we come to God for selfish purposes. So let's look at this. I want you to watch this video, okay? I tried to raise the music, but I wasn't able. I'm not that good with video editing and stuff, you know. And I wasn't able to do it, but you concentrate on words, not on music, okay? Let's try to do that. So this is going to be 5 minutes long. So it's 5 prayers. You will see 5 prayers. And try to identify with them. Let's see. trivial we turn prayer to be. Is that right? We make it so focused on ourselves. And we say it's all about God. We say many times, well, God, let your will be done, but actually we want, let our will be done. Is that right? I mean, this is obviously exaggerated, and this is for that purpose. So we recognize, you know, the severity of the situation sometimes we can find ourselves. This is a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call. So I wanted to share with you as we go on. It seems that this want to come back. We won't let it. It's too loud. Anyway, listen what one of my other favorite writer, Kierkegaard, I don't know if you heard of him, he's a Danish theologian. He said, the immediate person believes and fancies that the main thing when he prays, what he is particularly occupied with, is that God hears what it is he is praying for. Okay, let me translate this to you. What he is saying is, we are usually preoccupied and we want to be heard. When we come to prayer, he says, the first thing is we want to be heard. But listen, and this is very important. He says, and yet, in the truly eternal sense, it is just the opposite. It is not when God hears what is being prayed for that the true prayer relationship occurs, but when it is the one who prays, who continues to pray until it is he who is the one hearing, who hears what God wills. Do you see the difference? We come to God to be heard, or we come to God to hear and listen. Which one is it? Most of the time we come to God to be heard, because we have to say, guess what? God already knows what goes on in your life, what goes on with your emotions, what goes on with your surrounding, with your family, with your job, with everything else. He already knows. It is not about him hearing you. It is about you hearing him. This is why prayer, you know, is something we need to wrap our minds around. And today, I'm hoping to do a shift in your minds when it comes to prayer. Because prayer is not coming to God and asking him to do things for you. For those things is Santa. Okay? You write a letter to him, and on Christmas he's going to bring it to you. All right? God doesn't work like that. He works in a little bit different way. That is putting God down on a level of a child, or even further down. I don't know, maybe a babe. But you know, there is a problem actually we face today. We live in the world in which I am the focus. Is that right? Everything is about me. Is that right? So listen, those advertisers out there, I have one in my family, a marketer, you know, they are very much interested how to get to you, how that product is going to be for your benefit. Is it a beauty product? They are going to say, well, you're going to be appear nicer, you're going to feel better if you eat this kind of food, you're going to lose weight, you're going to gain weight, you're going to, whatever appeals to you. You know, if you buy this car, it's going to say to your neighbors this thing. If you buy the other car, it's going to tell them something else. So they are completely after you, after every segment of society, just to get you. But you know how we feel? I'm the center. I'm the center of universe. And you know, you don't need to go too far. Pretty much you know that sign up there, don't you? Amazon? Anybody knows about Amazon? Okay, some of you do, maybe one person, good. So basically I'm a Prime member on Amazon, okay? I pay a membership. Why? Because I want my stuff to be there in 3 days, okay? I want it to be there in 3 days. So if I buy something And that's again marketing thing. You have your credit card there on it, and it's all about convenience. Okay, it's easy, it's convenient, and guess what? We are using it. Amazon has become a billions of dollars industry, hundreds of billions of dollars of industry. You know, today. Why? Because you just sit down in your living room, in your bathroom, in your bedroom, wherever you are, you know, on your tablet, on your phone, where it's so convenient. You just list through, oh, this is what I want. You press the button and guess what? You get it. Now, the problem is that we are actually making our of prayer a prayer zone. The same thing. We want the same thing with God. We want just to go through our needs and then press the button, and God in 3 days at least, you know, okay, if I need to wait a week, it's okay, you know, but nothing more than that. Just press the button and He will work for you. Prayer zone. Do you like that? I made it up. But, you know, it works. You see the A to Z? You know, it just works the same way. You know why it's there A to Z? So anything from A to Z, you have everything. And that's with God too. You go to God, you order what you need. I need health, I need improvement in my relationship, I need, you know, quiet kids, I need well-behaved children, I need, you know, I don't know, good, whatever it is, you know. I need to prepare for a sermon, so God just press the button, and guess what? He's going to deliver. Why? Because we think everything is revolving around us. We are the center. That's what we've been taught every single day. You are the center. I am the center. And when we come to God, we think, well, He is the center. And guess what happens? Well, on one side, we come to God and we say, hey, you know what? We start demanding. We are pressing the button, you know, just pressing that button. We are demanding and we are saying, you know, I have the power of control. I have the power. When I need something, I come to God and He answers, you know, and I'm in control. We like that. That's what this world is teaching us. Number two, what is our focus with? Our focusing on how the other person needs to change. So it is not about me changing ever. It is the other person needs to change. You know, I've been in so many counseling sessions, counseling other individuals, marriage or whatever it might be, you know, and usually, guess what? You know, they're pointing fingers. Is that right? And listen, I'm not saying it's, well, we do that, all right? That's part of it. But never forget, if you point with one finger on others, you point with three on yourself. You know, you realize that, okay? So, but this is it. You know, we need and we pray, Lord, just please change my husband, my wife, or change my boss, or, you know, it's about the other person. You remember the prayers, you know, this guy had there? You know, my boss, he is so bad, you know, or change him. So give me a sign, exit sign. You know, it was very interesting. Anyway, it's the other person we are looking to change. Isn't that right? And then what is the role of prayer? Where the prayer is just another weapon. And this is, I put that there with purpose, because we are looking many times at prayer as, okay, God is going to get you. You know, I'm going to come to Him, I'm going to tell Him what to do, and guess what? It's going to be on you're going to be on the losing side. Do we look at the prayer as a weapon? Do you think about everybody benefiting from your prayers? Everybody? I mean, everybody? We usually think of self, is that right? And then because of that, we don't care about anybody else. Well, God is going to answer their prayer in some way. It is like when, you know, two gardeners were praying for, one was praying for sunshine and the other was praying for rain. Why? Because one was producing cabbage and the other one was producing pepper. Pepper needs sunshine, you know, lots of it. And some water, obviously. But cabbage needs rain and cooler weather. Who is God going to listen to? Well, God doesn't listen to those kind of prayers. Let me put it that way. He's not. And I'm going to prove it to you. All right? But here is the second thing. And because we are demanding, all right, from God, and because we are in control, because we are looking change to happen out there with somebody, not me, and because I'm looking at the prayer as a weapon, or as a tool to control, what happens if it doesn't happen? What happens when it doesn't happen? Well, this is what happens. Despair. Why? Because God is not listening. And I was praying and God didn't hear my prayer. I'm praying for the last 3 days and He did nothing. Nothing.
He wanted it so badly. So what happens in this prayer? In this prayer, it happens that I don't have the power and I'm out of control. So suddenly, where I am completely in control, I know what I want and I ask God for what I want, I get to the point where I'm completely in despair. And God doesn't listen. And then we are disheartened. And then we don't have power. And then we feel the whole world is against us. And we feel that God is out there somewhere doing His business and He doesn't care at all about me. You know what are those? They're called feelings. They're called feelings. They're not called reason. Okay, they're called feelings. Now, what is the focus? Over here, the focus, how the other person can't change. So I pray that God changes those circumstances, but God cannot change that person because I prayed and He didn't change them, so He cannot change them. I mean, what logic is that? But anyway, all right, and then finally, what is the role of prayer? There is no point in praying. Come on. Why would you lose your time? Is that right? So prayer is has no place in my life, and because of that, I cease praying, and basically, nothing is going on anymore in my prayer life because I cease praying. So, can you see this? From one side, from demanding, we turn into despair. And this is usually the cycle that many Christians fall into. And this cycle is not a healthy cycle. This is not what prayer is all about at all. Though many Christians are there. I'm not sure if you are. But there is the third way, or the way, if I may put it that way. There is the way. And this is good asking. I'm calling it good asking. Alright? Where God has the power and God is in control. Amen. So it's not about me having the power. It is not about me having the control. It is about God having the power and God having the control. But focus is on God. Focus is not on anybody else, not me, not on another person. Focus is on God, and where I live in His presence with my disappointment, I begin with my own need to change. So the change is happening with my attitude. The change starts happening in me, not out there. Not with God, not with anybody else, but with me. I am the one who is harmonizing, You heard us singing here. It took some time to harmonize, to even pronounce the words at the same time, You have to learn this. It doesn't happen just like that. If I sing a solo, I wouldn't. But if I do, again, I have to harmonize with the music. Is that right? That I am in beat, that, the words are good and everything else. So that is very important to harmonize. And the harmonization starts with me and towards God. With me towards God. And then finally, what is the role of prayer? Well, the prayer is central. Why? Because I pray to a personal God. So I am simultaneously asking and surrendering. Amen. God is personal in this matter. He is not somewhere remote. He is not a Santa Claus. Alright? He is not somebody where I'm just, I like this picture, I read it somewhere, where the writer said that prayer for some Christians is nothing else but a vending machine. Did you hear that? Vending machine? Can you understand it? You put in a penny or whatever, $1, $2, and you get a bottle. Okay? You just have to go to the right God for the right thing. And I've been studying for the last couple of years very, very much. And I'm going to bring it to you one day, I believe, soon. I've been studying about idolatry a lot. Because, we associate idols very much with, the past, those, icons and those made, from stone, from brick, from whatever, wood made gods. And those are idols. We have more idols today in our society than ever before in the human history. And this is just mind-boggling. I don't want to go there, but I just wanted to bring this in as I'm talking about prayer. Because if God is not a personal God, if we do not know God, and we should spend our time to get to know Him, okay? If we do not know God, the problem is that we will actually have an idol. Definitely you'll have an idol. So this brings me to a quote from a book, Heavenly Places. Anybody heard of the book Heavenly Places? Some of you have. And I rest my case after I leave. I can finish here. I can really finish here. Because listen to this. He says, the Lord sees that prayer is often mixed with what? Earthliness, with worldliness, with earthly things. We just discussed that before. And now listen. Many pray for that which will gratify what? Their selfish desires. Just remember that video at the beginning. Lord, I want to marry Halle Berry. Okay, that's my desire. So please, if I flip this coin. Wow, if he would marry like that and he's a Christian and he flips coins. Wow, But do Christians do that? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, on a daily basis, we are just flipping coins for everything in our lives. All right? So listen, and the Lord does not fulfill their requests in the way which they expect. He does not. This is important. He says He takes them, and now listen, He takes them through tests and trials. And He goes on. He brings them through humiliation. Okay? He goes on until they see more clearly what their necessities are. Why are we going through tests and trials? Why are we going through humiliations in our lives? I went through a lot. I didn't know how to pray. I was thinking about myself. I wasn't thinking about my family. I wasn't thinking about God. But many times, selfish desires can be also not just personal. It can be for the wider circle. It can be family. It can be church even. I'm going to talk about that. Okay? And it's not God who is in the first place. And it says, He does not give to man those things which will gratify a debased appetite, and which will prove an injury to the human agent and make him a dishonor to God. God knows. Listen, God knows you better than you know yourself. He knows what you need, not necessarily what you desire. That's the difference. One thing is what you need, and the other thing might be what you want. And these might not fit actually. Alright? So God knows that, and He will give you what you need. Now it goes on to say, He does not give man that which will gratify their ambition and work simply for what reason? Self-exaltation. I rest my case. This is it. I can't stop preaching. You know, a few years ago, actually, it has been now almost 10, 12 years ago, when I was hit by the righteousness by faith message, my life changed around. I can't stop talking about selfishness. I can't. Or iniquity, if you wish. Because that is what destroys, what started the rebellion against God, and that keeps the rebellion going on.
That's right.
And it can be on a personal level, it can be on a family level, church level, it can be on a society level, it can be on a level of a country where we think we are the center of the universe. You know, and this planet, you know, is not the center of the universe, last time I checked. I want to show you 6 models of prayer. I want to shock you a little bit, okay? I don't have enough time to go into each and every one. I'm just going to read what's there, and if you have any questions, talk to me about this. But here are 7 models of prayer. They're not all biblical, okay? I'm just warning you. There are a couple, I believe, only 2 that are mainly biblical. I mean, that are biblical, and there you have 2 others that are mainly biblical, okay? But here is the first one. Have you ever heard about the Armenian model? You haven't, I know, because I haven't either. But as I was studying this question, this came up. I said, this is it, you know. These are people who believe in controlling the forces of God. These are people who believe that they will, you know, slowly but surely evolve. Okay? They will evolve. And these are Christians, by the way, who believe this. This is not a Christian model, but there are Christians who have accepted this. Have you heard about the mystical model? Yes. God is in us, and we need to get in touch with our true self. And how are you going to do that? Well, it is through quiet meditation. Have you heard of quiet meditation? And it is going to happen. You have even in the Christian circles, you have monasticism on the east and the west side of the church, and so on, you know, that has accepted this model and that is present. Then you have the third one. This is the prophetic model, and it pretty much says God is near to everyone, but we are way different from God. What does this mean? Well, it means that we are going to search out for God, and it is going to be through our knowledge, through our understanding that we are sinners and He is holy. But there is a way, and we bring in, you know, all the aspects of prayer. These are not models, these are aspects of prayer where we do what? We put in our petitions, we bring our praises, we thanksgivings, and so on and so forth. So that is there, but it is more through knowledge. So the next, so this is the third one. The fourth one, it is the mixture of the previous 2. Many Christians today are practicing this one, and more the mystical part is coming into the evangelical church, and some other parts of the church where they are saying, you know, we need this quiet, and we need to go somewhere where it's going to be, you know, we're going to sitting quiet and meditate, not on the Word of God, but meditate. Many times what they do there, and this is New Age, by the way, what they do, it is nothing else, but they would even take a passage from the Bible and they would just repeat it as a mantra. Did you hear about that? They would just repeat it even if it's a good text, but if you repeat it as a mantra, what? You lose the focus from God. Okay? And then there is the fifth one. This is the intuitive and the gift-based model. Basically, there must be a God, and I put it with small g, okay, who gives all the blessings, and we intuitively, okay, reach out to Him. So there is a God. Okay, so let's just thank Him and bring our offerings. And, you know, it can be at this tree outside, or I don't know, it can be anywhere. So just let's thank Him. Or, you know, whoever He is, we don't know, we will never know. But hey, you know, we understand that something is going on around us what we cannot explain. And because of that, let's just do it. And then the last two are actually biblical. These are, I would say, the good ones. Encounter and conversation model. Some of you mentioned, yes, this is it. So we listen while God speaks. The more we know God, the better we can converse with Him. Okay? So it is about finding out who God is. And how do we do that? We do that through His Word. Is that right? We do that through the prophetic revelation. We do that through the revelation of the nature. We do that also through our conscience, as we do the first two. Okay, and our conscience becomes more in tune with God. That's how we can then open up to God. And finally, the last one is listening and answering model. You will find I put here, this is the Job's model, but most of the prophets of the Bible and those who are individuals in the Bible, we read about them. They are basically interacting. They are listening to God and then answering. Listening, answering, listening, answering. So this is the last two are the most prominent biblical ones that are today, I believe, more and more, we as Adventists we are practicing. So, and this is very important to know, these things, because you have other models that are coming into the church, that are even people embracing, and they have no biblical foundation. They have no biblical foundation. Okay? So, I can talk to you about this when we are maybe one-on-one, but I would like to remind you of this text what Jesus said here in John chapter 14. Many people are actually bringing this to me when I'm talking about prayer. They said, well, didn't Jesus say? What did Jesus say? He said, most assuredly I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he will do also. And greater works than these he will do, because, now listen to this, because I go to my Father. And now he says, and whatever you ask in my name, and usually this is quoted to me, okay, maybe even to you. Whatever is asked of me, Jesus says, he says what? I will do. Okay? And he says, that my Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask anything in my name, again, he says again, I will do. You know, when there is something repeated in the Bible, it means that has extreme significance. Okay? If 2 or 3 times, when Jesus says, very verily I say unto you, or truly, truly I say unto you, you know, it means what follows is extremely important. Okay? So in this case, when Jesus says twice, I will do, this has extreme importance. Okay? This has extreme importance. But please notice, the emphasis is on Him giving if we ask anything in His name. But there are 2 things I want to underline. Number 1, it has to be in His name. And number 2, we have to believe. You know, I was present one day while I was working in the city. We had some visitors in our church. They were from English Guyana. It is South Africa. And this lady, you know, she came to me after the service with one of the head deaconess, actually. They came to me, and the head deaconess was talking to me, and then she says, I have a daughter who has an evil spirit. And, you know, usually when you hear this these days and times, you say, well, maybe it's epilepsy, maybe it's something else. You know, and then she was telling me the whole story, and anyway, to cut the whole story, she invited me if I would be willing to pray over the child. By the way, we can pray for our sick, okay, for healing. Though when we read Ellen White, she says that this is the most solemn prayer we ever lift up to God. She calls it the most solemn prayer. So you don't take it lightly, in other words, okay? You have to prepare for that. You don't just go. And another thing, so when I'm coming back to my story, when I went to this person, and we had some of her family, there was this young woman, she was maybe early 20s, I believe, and you know, she when the Spirit would take her over, she would have such a power, just like when you read in the Bible, she would be stronger than 5 men around her. Nobody can keep her down, number one. Number two, she would go, the young would understand this, bazooka in the room, okay? She would go wild in the room. She would basically break anything and everything, okay? And she would never remember what happened. She went to all the doctors possible, and they didn't have no answer. She was not a U.S. citizen, so she had to fly back soon after this, and she was always hoping that this would not happen to her while she is on the plane, though it happened quite a few times. So it's very, very hard anyway. And when we knelt down to pray, first I talked to them, and before we knelt down to pray, I asked those who were present, I said, any of you that does not believe in God's power, please leave now.
That's right. That's right.
Please leave now. You're not welcomed here any longer. We can't pray in your presence. We can't pray in the presence of Satan, because this is serious. Okay? So we knelt down in the end. You know, there was, I believe, 3 from their families. I had 3 other sisters from the church. And there was myself, and I believe 1 elder was with me. And we knelt down and we prayed. I was holding the girl's hands. I was holding her hand. And at one point, you know, I anointed her for healing. But, you know, it was interesting, you know, just to feel her hands in my hands. I can't go into details, but it was scary. It was scary. Bottom line, you might be wondering what happened. Well, about a month later, even 2 months later, she didn't have any episodes. Then she left. And she went back to Guyana, and what I heard later, she went just to visit one of the local, what you call them, these witch doctors, you know, or somebody, you know, and everything returned. She didn't go for healing, but she just visited. Everything returned. Though I told her we destroyed all the amulets she had and everything else, you know, she got another one. So you know, this is how Satan works. You know, but I want to underline one thing, and it is that prayer has power, not because of prayer itself, but because God, who is behind or beyond the prayer. Now, I need to finish this up, but please remember this. Through faith and by knowing who we are praying to, prayers will be answered. Through faith is prayer answered, not through a vending machine slot. Okay? That's not how prayer is answered. Please don't treat God as if He is a child. He is your creator. He knows, He's your Father. He knows better and more than you would ever know in your whole entire life. So if He is like that, then treat Him as God. Don't treat Him as a babe, if I may put it. Now, question, because this is where we are heading. Whose business was Jesus about?
His Father.
You know this text? When Jesus was asked, He says, did you not know that I must be about my Father's business? Okay? Now, here is another question for you. Whose business should we as disciples of Christ be about? Are we? Listen, this is what we read in Luke 19. This is about one of Christ's parables, where he is talking about gifts that the master has given. And this is what the master says. I'm going to read just in bold there. Do business till I come. Whose business? It was the master's business. Is that right? So we are here, you and me, to do his business. If you are the disciple of Christ, if you are the follower, disciple means follower, okay, of Christ, there is nothing else you are asked to do but to be about his business.
Amen.
When you wake up, while you are awake, until you go to sleep, you are always about his business. God's business. God's business. God's business. Now, you see, Christ came, and for what purpose? To save us, is that right? Jesus is already, by the way, on my case. He is already on your case. Even before we came to him, even before we knew him, he was on your case to save you. He is already about mine and your business. He knows already what is our needs, what are our needs, what is my need, even before I open my mouth, all right? But the real question is, are we on his case? Are we his ambassadors? Are we praying for his kingdom to come? Are we praying for the salvation of all? Are we about his business? That's the real question. Or are we still about our own case, our own business, our own thing, our own life, and not his? Are we about our own story? Or are we about his story? Whose story are we all about? Well, if we are about his story, then this text makes complete sense when he says, whatever you ask. Why? Because you are about his story. You are about his kingdom. You are about his case. You are everything about Jesus Christ. And Jesus says, well, if you want anything, I'm going to give it to you because you are about me. I am about you. Believe me, he says, because he has given his life for you. But you have to be now about me. If you are about Christ, he is going to grant you every prayer. No question asked. He promised. He says, I will do it. I will do it again. He says, if you ask anything in my name, but you have to be about my case. You have to be my ambassadors. You have to be my representatives. And for my kingdom, I'm going to give you everything. Even if it is your health, because you need health to do my business. Is that right? Even if it is, how could I put this? Even if it is joy and pleasure and desire in your life. But if it's for my business, you're going to get all the blessings. Don't worry about it. If it's about finances, you are struggling. But don't forget, it is about my business. Okay? You're going to be blessed beyond what you ever expect. You know? I know what it means to live on $50 a month. When you needed at least 300 or 400. It was in my old country. I know what it means to provide through gardening to ourselves. Because there were no other means. We produced all the food for our family. And I was a pastor, full-time pastor. My wife was a full-time gardener. That's why we know some things about gardening. Okay? Because we were providing for it. And that's why we know a lot about, how to preserve that food for winter and have through the winter and everything else. Because we had to do it. That was my salary as a pastor. $50 a month. And you say, well, it's hard. It is. Maybe over here it would translate now to, I don't know, $1,000, maybe $1,200 a month. Where you hardly can manage, maybe even less than that, I don't know. Because we had hardly for food. So anyway, God can do. But here are a few quotes I want to share with you as I finish up. This was from Oswald Chambers, and he says, prayer does not equip us for greater works. Prayer is the greater work. You know, we always, well, let's pray so that God. No! You don't pray so that God. No, forget that phrase. It doesn't work like that. You pray so that you are in the presence of God, so that He equips you to do His work. We are, you see, I'm going back there again. I mentioned this before here. We have only one Great Commission. And this Great Commission is about God's kingdom. It is not about our kingdom. It's not about what I will do in that kingdom. No. It is how God is going to do things through me in His kingdom. There is no I in God's kingdom.
That's right.
We have to understand that. There is only God in His kingdom. And if you want to be in His kingdom for anything else, or anybody else, but God, you are missing the point. You can leave right now.
That's right. That's right.
God's kingdom is about God. Please remember that. It is not about you and the golden roads in the New Jerusalem and the new mansions and, you know, your family there. And that you will have all of that. But Jesus said clearly, seek ye first
Kingdom of God.
kingdom of God. And what else? And His righteousness. And all these things will be added to you. You see, we are turning things just around. We want all the rest and then God and the kingdom. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. Please. Okay. And let me finish with a couple of good quotes from our good writer, Ellen White. She says, prayer is heaven's ordained means of success in the conflict with sin and the development of Christian character.
Amen.
You see what is prayer? It is heaven's means. So how do you want to develop your character if you are there in front of God and you are saying, give me. You cannot survive in heaven. You will never survive in heaven because it is all about you. In heaven you cannot exit with thoughts of you. It has to be about God. Here is another one. He says, prayer is not the work. Not to work any change in whom? In God. He says, it is to bring us into harmony with God. Why have we been praying and fasting through the last 24 hours? For one purpose. And it says over there, that we get more in harmony with God. I believe this should not be just once a month thing. It should be a weekly thing. It should be twice a week. 3 times a week. We as Seventh-day Adventists, with our lifestyle, with a healthy lifestyle, we are always, by the way, in fasting. Did you know that? We fast non-stop because we are withdrawing ourselves from many things that is out there. And there is a reason for that. Not to be higher from anyone, but actually to be more in harmony with God. Not to point out somebody's sins, but rather to be sure that God is able to use us in these last days in the best possible way.
Amen.
That's why we are practicing that. And we want as many people as possible to accept this. But if we don't want to, God is okay with that. The only thing is, as we read, some might not be going through the finish line as alive. If you know what I mean. You don't. I'm going to talk about that maybe another time. Okay. Prayer is the most holy experience of the soul. Prayer is the life of the soul, the foundation of spiritual growth. And here is another one. It says, the spirit of true fasting and prayer is the spirit which yields minds, hearts, and will to God. Listen, this is powerful. We have to know why prayer is. This is not, listen, if it would be natural for us to pray, the disciples would have never asked, teach us to pray. Have you ever asked the Lord to teach you to pray? I spent quite a few days in the last month at Andrews, and one of the things that we did as a cohort, as we are studying, for leading, for growth and church multiplication. One of the things we were learning about, it's not here, I didn't put anything from that here, but these are Jews, I might be sharing with you in the future. We learn how to pray as pastors. And I believe all of us have to know how to pray. And the easiest way to do it, ask. Ask the Lord, and He is going to show you. So now, please take your phones. Please take your phones. And I want you to answer this question. Is your prayer life about your story or God's story? Now, let's see if this will work. It doesn't work? Oh, why is it not working? Okay. Well, it's going to stay a rhetorical question, I suppose. I was hoping it will work, because it worked before I walked in here. Yeah. Nope, it doesn't come up. All right, next time. Okay, so as I finish up, I can still ask you the question. So, from what you heard today, is your prayer about your story or is it about God's story?
It should be God.
It should be God's story. I agree with you. But if you are honest with you, when I was preparing this for you to share with you, I always look at first myself. You have to know that. Okay? I'm not standing up here and say, this is for you guys. It's nothing to do with me. No. This is me first. Okay? I realized that my prayers mainly were my story. Very little of God's story. Very little of God's story. And this is why the disciples said, Lord, teach us to pray. And Jesus taught them, and He said, when you pray, you should pray like this: Our Father, who art or which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so in earth. Give us day by day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, for we also forgive everyone that is indebted to us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. This is the Luke's version of prayer. We know the Matthew's version of prayer. And I've chosen this one with a reason. Because I believe that we should pray this prayer. Either Matthew or Luke, doesn't matter. But we should need to pray and make your prayers more like this prayer, where you give praise, honor, and glory to God before you ever ask for yourself anything. May the good Lord bless us and help us to make changes in our prayer. Amen. Amen.
Let us stand as we sing our closing hymn.
It will joy and
This is the story of redemption of those people, humans from the earth, as much the redemption of the world. And thank you for loving us so much, dear Lord. This time, as we come to you and as we talk to you, because you always listen, we know, but we don't. I just want to ask you, dear Lord, that you would give me and you would give us a heart of listening more than heart of talking. Let us come to you and recognize that we are part of your story, that we are who we are just because of you. We want to spend the eternity with you and with those we love. And I pray, dear Lord, that our focus would be right. And our focus would be on you and knowing you better, because you said this is life eternal. To know you, the Father, and who you have sent, and that's Jesus Christ. Let us spend all our time to getting to know you, so that we have a strong, knowing, and living relationship with you. So when you come, it will not be a surprise, but rather a joy. Give us this desire, dear Lord, in our lives. And thank you for hearing us. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
not just provided